I put together all of my top tips and tricks that helped me fall in love with the Create This book. Been going for well over a year now and there are no signs of stopping. So if you've had your eye on this art prompt book or are looking to get back into it again and find your creativity, then these tips might just help you do that. Where do we begin? Why don't we start from the very beginning? Decide what you'd like to gain from the book and manage those expectations. Is it all about experimentation? Does that mean you'd like the book near you at all times so that you can quickly complete a spontaneous prompt if you have a spare 10 minutes? Well, if that's the case, then you probably aren't going to be creating an art book of sorts. It will look more like a sketchbook. Manage your expectations. It is 100% okay to complete each piece quickly, drawing directly in the book, but there are some things to consider. Firstly, make sure you're happy with the level of art you're creating. If it's made in 10 minutes, then it probably won't have very much detail. The sketch may not have super accurate perspective. The anatomy might be a little bit off since it's created quickly. Also, if the book is handy and lying about near you at all times, there's a high chance things could go wrong. You could accidentally spill some water over it. It could get damaged. These things happen and it's a risk that might not be worth it for you. Consider how you'd like to approach the book. Leaning into that last point, one big consideration is whether you plan to stick paper in the book or not. If you're drawing directly every time, then there could be bleed through that might ruin a piece you've already created. Bear in mind that some mediums will go through the paper, especially since it is Amazon paper and they're kind of all like that. Not just the obvious like alcohol markers, but even watercolor and acrylics and water-based markers, they can go through or show a little bit of ghosting. Consider whether creating art easily is worth it for you when some art supplies can go through the page. If you decide that it isn't, then that's completely fine. However, if you're sticking paper down on every single page, the book is going to get chunky. This is the size of my Create This book and it's not even stuck in on every page. If your goal is to treat the Create This book as more like an art book with both ideas and proper finished pieces, you might want to consider being tactical about it. If you know that you want to use alcohol or acrylic markers, work straight in the book, but stick down paper on either side. This way you're only sticking in half as many sheets. Obviously you can also reach for the thinnest paper possible so it doesn't get super big. If you like to scan your art, working on paper might be the better option. You can take a high quality scan after you've made the piece, but before slicing it in half and before sticking it in. That way you get a really good quality scan as opposed to trying to scan a book like this with the crease and that situation. It's a lot more difficult to scan in a book, so work on separate paper if you want to keep the art. Remember also that it's not just that you could put acrylic down on Amazon paper and it will go through. There could be slight ghosting on the other side. If you do a drawing with water-based markers or a painting with watercolor, then even if there's no ghosting and the other sides are completely fine, you could still apply acrylic markers to the other side, and if it's wet enough, it will reactivate the water-based markers or the paint and create a huge mess on those pages. That is possible. Amazon paper reacts differently to sketchbook paper. I've actually completed 2 Amazon sketchbooks now, both of these which were actually 2 different 24-hour challenges. I'll leave them below if you want to see. This is the back, and as you can see, the mediums do tend to show through in one way or another. Some will also transfer on the same page, and you don't want that to ruin your piece. This is actually mild liners, believe it or not, and this is acrylic markers. That's felt tips. You never know what will happen if you work directly in the books. Next up, make sure you seal the cover. Your Create This book is going to get a lot of use, and the aim is to draw and paint on this cover. It starts off white, so make sure you protect it. You could use a matte decoupage like I did. The matte ones are less sticky than glossy. To be honest, they are still a little bit sticky though. Tacky. I guess. Just a little bit. But it is a good, simple solution. Even better is cold laminate. It comes like this, and really, it's just a big sticker. These are clear, it's like a film, so you can wipe it down and you can stick it directly on a book. It's very tricky to apply, but this is the best one to give you a smooth surface that you can easily wipe down. It's also what a lot of artists use, myself included, to make stickers. You see that slight hollow on top? That is the cold laminate. You can also get it in stars or make it matte like this, so it goes from glossy to matte. You can literally use any for your cover, but it is difficult to go that route and it can easily go wrong. You could also use packaging tape, any kind of sellotape, the bigger the better, and just wrap the entire book cover. That is another good option. To seal or not to seal? That is the big question. You've got your book, you've made your cover. What are you going to do with the art inside? Most people will use a matte decoupage, something like Mod Podge, to seal their pages, but it can stick together. I had this happen to me for this cute little page. The pages had over 24 hours to dry and still stuck together, ripping all of this paint off with it. The other pages were fully dry, but still felt a tiny bit sticky. So after all of that drama, I just stick paper in mine. You could use glassine or tracing paper. Just cut it to size and pop it inside. I'm gonna be honest, this route is kind of ugly and it's something that I've avoided for a while, but it really is the best solution. Another sealant I use is Dorland's Cold Wax Medium. This one is more for water activated mediums because it keeps them still and adds a waterproof layer on top. I've actually made a whole video on this before. It's only like 3 minutes long, but I'll leave that down below if you want to see it. It can be used for acrylic paint and colour pencils too, and it's a good choice because the pages are far less likely to stick together, but it does have a weird smell. Feel free to treat the Create This book like a sketchbook, a place for fun, experimentation, and even to explore new art supplies. Don't just think about what you're going to create. Think about what medium you're going to use to create that art. Sometimes a medium can inspire the art that you create. For example, say that the prompt is something silly like create a cat. If I were using Neocolor pastels, I would probably create something a little bit more cartoon-like. A very simple art style. But if I were using watercolor, it would probably be more loose and flowy. And rather than a cute house cat, maybe I could create a lion. And maybe color pencils or acrylic markers would inspire something like a tiger, something that needs more detail. If you're struggling to come up with ideas for a prompt, or if you've got too many, why don't you pick the art supply first to help guide you in a particular direction? And if you get some new pencils or paints, why don't you try them out in here? You don't have to treat it like an art book, a place where you create masterpieces. If you do that, it will never get finished. If you want to swatch art supplies and doodle, you absolutely can. It's your book, you can fill it however you like. Go with the flow and experiment. You are free to take the prompts as literal or as interpretive as you feel. Oh, and I do want to say a quick thank you to my Patreon supporters. Sketchbook buddies, you guys are the best. And you're helping me keep making these videos, so thank you. Something that's been the biggest help for me is to treat the prompt and the description as two separate parts. When it comes to art prompts, you don't have to do them both. There's the create a prompt, and it comes with a sentence that could be guiding you to a solution or just straight up telling you what to do. Look at the main prompt first, then see what ideas you can come up with before looking at the second half. For example, create a sequel. It makes you think of the second part of things, like a meal or something you do after another thing, like going in the shower after a run. The second you read the following sentence, all of those ideas suddenly become irrelevant. If you're following this sentence, suddenly you have to create a movie sequel That's a poster with a plot and a title, which limits what you can create completely. And now you might get completely stuck on that prompt, trying to come up with a movie that doesn't already have a sequel, which is exactly what I did for the Create This book that's traveling all around the world. Because it's not only that, it should be a film that you like, that you want to have a sequel, that would have enough of a plot and isn't already one. That is niche down to the point where it's no longer fun. If it's difficult to come up with an idea and you have to research it, then it can quickly become a chore. Have every single prompt written down somewhere. I do this on the Notes app on my phone. You could do it in a notebook or by printing a page out. Have all the prompts ready at a glance so you can easily see them. And there's a couple of reasons why. Firstly, if you have a very specific idea in mind, like you want to draw an elephant with a party hat on, you can reach for your list and find a prompt where that idea kind of fits. Make a note of it and suddenly you're ready to go. You can complete a prompt and you can create art for any specific silly idea you have. Number 2, you don't have to wait for the perfect idea. Make a note of any simple ideas that you have so that there's something, and then if you come up with a better idea, you can just replace it. Pick the one you like most. Oh, this is a big tip. I would always be at least 5 prompts ahead. That means that for the next 5 ideas, you have ideas written down for all of them. You have something that you could create, even if you're not working super far ahead. Then you can just reach for your phone occasionally and see if you can come up with anything on the spot. Try to always keep 5 prompts ahead, unless there is one crazy specific piece that you really want to create, like the elephant. Try to only work 5 pages ahead. That means that when you reach for the Create This book and you are creating art for a prompt, try to keep in order as much as you possibly can. Try to only create art up to 5 pages ahead. So you're doing one of the next 5 prompts, unless you have that very specific idea, which leads on to the next point. Only work a maximum number of pages ahead. Of course, if you've got your specific idea, then just go for it. But have a number in your head of how far ahead you'd like to work. If you're only going 5 pages ahead at any one point, then you are pretty much completing the entire book in order. This way, you're not really skipping pages either, because you can only be 5 pages behind. As long as you are moving forward in the book, try not to leave pages. Yes, it'd be super easy to find the prompts that you want to do and do them first, but you're going to create more problems for yourself. What happens after those are done? You're left with a bunch of prompts that you might not even like. Well, clearly not, because you've already skipped them a million times. And yes, there are some prompts that are worse than others. Like, create a treehouse, create bewilderment. Those are nice simple prompts. But what do you do when you get create a screenshot, create a word, create a short story? These prompts are more difficult and a lot of them do kind of involve words, so you might skip them. And if you're skipping them at the beginning, you're not going to want to do them at the end. It's always hard to come up with ideas for prompts on the spot. But if you're only working on a handful at a time, it can be a lot easier to find an idea that works. I'm not saying it has to be your best idea ever, but just do it. Just fill the page so you're not left with it later on. If you don't like a prompt now, you're probably not going to like it later. And that's it. Those are my top tips and tricks for filling the Create This book. If you found any of these helpful, then why don't you give this video a like? Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you in a few days. Bye bye.